Emily Clark froze in the closet, her fingers trembling around a wine glass, as Derek's voice sliced through the silence like a blade. "She won't suspect a thing," he whispered into his phone, low and venomous. "One more week and it's ours." Her heart thudded so loudly she feared he'd hear it. Who was this man she'd married? And what was he planning to take from her? It was supposed to be a perfect evening. Emily, 34, a book editor with a sharp eye and a soft heart, had spent hours planning a surprise for Derek Smith, her husband of 6 months. Their Chicago suburb home glowed with candlelight, the table set with his favorite steak and a bottle of Pinot Noir. She'd slipped into the closet to jump out playfully when he arrived, a silly gesture to spark laughter after his long day as a financial consultant. But now, crouched among coats, she felt the air grow heavy with dread. Derek's footsteps paced the living room. "Yeah, the house is the key," he continued, oblivious to her presence. "Once she signs, we're set. No loose ends." A pause, then a chilling laugh. "Trust me, she's too in love to notice." Emily's breath caught. The house, her grandmother's legacy, a $500,000 haven by Lake Michigan, was her anchor. She'd inherited it 2 years ago, after Gran's death, and its creaky floors held memories of summer nights reading by the fireplace. Derek had insisted on putting it in his name after their whirlwind wedding, calling it a practical move. She'd trusted him. Had that been her first mistake? The floorboard creaked as she shifted, and Derek's voice stopped. "Hold on," he said sharply. Emily's pulse raced. She pressed herself deeper into the closet, praying the darkness hid her. Seconds stretched into eternity until he resumed, just the house settling. "Old places, you know." Her wineglass slipped, nearly crashing to the floor, but she caught it, her hands shaking. She couldn't stay here. She had to act normal, or he'd know she'd heard. Emily waited until Derek moved to the kitchen, then slipped out, smoothing her dress and forcing a smile. "Honey, you're home," she called, her voice brighter than she felt. He turned, his hazel eyes scanning her, and for a moment, she swore they darkened. You startled me," he said, slipping his phone into his pocket. "What's all this?" He gestured to the candles, his smile too perfect, like a mask. "Just wanted to surprise you," she said, pouring wine with hands that barely obeyed. Her mind replayed his words, "one more week." What was he planning? She remembered the odd moments, the late-night calls he'd brush off, the locked drawer in his office, the way he'd dodge questions about his past. They'd met at a literary event, his charm disarming her usual caution. 3 months later, he'd proposed by the lake, and she'd said yes, swept up in a fairy tale. Now it felt like a trap. Dinner was torture. Derek chatted about work, his voice smooth, but Emily caught him glancing at her too often, like he was testing her. "You okay, babe?" he asked, slicing his steak. "You seem quiet." She forced a laugh. "Just tired. Big deadline tomorrow." Her phone buzzed on the table. A text from an unknown number. Check his office. "You're not safe." Her stomach dropped. She locked the screen before Derek noticed, but her hands went cold. "Who's that?" he asked, his tone casual but edged. "Just Sarah." Emily lied, naming her friend, a journalist at the Chicago Tribune. "Work stuff." Derek nodded, but his eyes lingered. She excused herself to the bathroom, her legs weak, and reread the text. Who sent it? Was someone watching them? She splashed water on her face, staring at her reflection. The woman looking back wasn't the naive bride of 6 months ago. She was a stranger, awake to danger. Back at the table, Emily played her part, laughing at Derek's jokes while her mind raced. She needed answers. Gran's voice echoed in her memory. "Never let fear choose for you, Em." At 16, Emily had watched her grandmother fight off a shady developer trying to swindle her out of the house. Gran won by digging up proof he'd forged documents. If Gran could fight, so could Emily. But how? Derek's office was her first lead, but it was locked, and he kept the key. As they cleared the dishes, Derek's phone rang. He stepped outside to take it, leaving her alone. She eyed his jacket, draped over a chair. Her pulse pounded as she slipped her hand into the pocket. Nothing but gum and a receipt. Then she saw his briefcase by the door, half open. Inside was a business card. Horizon Solutions, Legal Services. Scribbled on it, Power of Attorney. Tuesday. Tuesday was 6 days away. Her chest tightened. Was this the signing he'd mentioned? Derek's voice grew louder outside. Emily shoved the card back and darted to the sink, splashing water to cover her nerves. He walked in, his smile gone. "You're jumpy tonight," he said, leaning close. Something on your mind? She met his gaze, her fear hardening into resolve. Just thinking about us, she said, her voice steady. How lucky we are. He relaxed, but she saw it, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. That night, Emily lay beside him, wide awake. His breathing was even, but she didn't trust it. She slipped out of bed, grabbed her phone, and texted Sarah. Needed to check a company. Horizon Solution. Urgent. Sarah replied instantly, on it. You okay? Emily typed, not sure, then deleted it. She couldn't tell anyone yet, not until she knew more. The house creaked, and she froze, half expecting Derek to appear. But it was just the wind. She stared at the ceiling, Grand's words looping in her mind. The house wasn't just bricks, it was her past, her safety. Derek wanted it, and maybe more. The text from the stranger burned in her thoughts. You're not safe. Tomorrow, she'd start digging, no matter the risk. But as she closed her eyes, one question haunted her. If Derek wasn't the man she loved, who was he? Emily's hand shook as she stood outside Derek's office door, the house silent except for the hum of the fridge. It was 2 a.m., and he was asleep upstairs, or so she hoped. The business card from Horizon Solutions, with its scrawled power of attorney. Tuesday, burned in her mind. 5 days left. Whatever Derek was planning, the answers were behind that locked door. But every creak of the old Lake Michigan house felt like a warning. He'll catch you. She'd barely slept since overhearing his call 2 nights ago. Her thoughts a tangle of fear and betrayal. The anonymous text, check his office. You're not safe, haunted her. Who knew? Was someone watching her, or worse, watching them? She'd texted Sarah again, her journalist friend at the Chicago Tribune, begging for a lead on Horizon Solutions. Sarah's reply came at dawn. Shady firm. Tied to property scams. Be careful, Em. Careful wasn't enough anymore. She needed proof. Emily glanced at the staircase, half expecting Derek's shadow to loom. She'd seen him pocket the office key yesterday, but she'd watched Gran pick locks as a kid, fixing tenants' doors when money was tight. A bobby pin and guts, that's all it takes, Gran had said, her eyes twinkling. Emily's chest ached at the memory. This house, Gran's pride, was all she had left of her. Losing it to Derek's scheme wasn't an option. She knelt, a hairpin trembling in her fingers. The lock clicked after agonizing seconds, and she slipped inside, closing the door softly. Moonlight spilled through the window, glinting off Derek's desk, a mahogany beast that screamed control. She started with the drawers, finding only pens and receipts. Her pulse raced as she tried the locked one, the hairpin scraping. It popped open, revealing a folder labeled Lakeview Property. Her house. Inside were emails, printed from an account she didn't recognize. She'll sign by Tuesday. Funds transfer same day. Red one signed R. Another mentioned a $500,000 wire to an offshore account. Emily's stomach churned. Derek wasn't just after the house. He was planning to vanish with its worth. But why her? Had their love ever been real, or was she just a mark? She photographed the pages with her phone, her hands slick with sweat. A floorboard groaned outside. Emily froze, shoving the folder back. The doorknob rattled. Her heart slammed against her ribs as she dove under the desk, curling into a ball. The door swung open, and Derek's bare feet patted in. Damn it, he muttered, his voice thick with sleep or suspicion. She held her breath, the wineglass moment from the closet flashing back. Another second from ruin. He shuffled to the window, checking the lock, then left. She waited, lungs burning, until silence returned. Crawling out, Emily's eyes caught a glint in the drawer, a USB drive tucked beneath a notepad. She grabbed it, her gut screaming it held more than the folder. As she pocketed it, her phone buzzed, the screen lighting up the dark. Another unknown number. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. Her blood ran cold. She snapped the phone off, but not before glimpsing a shadow outside the window, a figure gone in a blink. Was it real, or was panic twisting her mind? She locked the drawer and slipped out, her legs like jelly. Back in bed, Derek's arm draped over her, heavy as a chain. She lay rigid, his breath warm on her neck, and wondered how she'd ever felt safe with him. At dawn, she faked a smile over coffee, her mind on the USB. Big day, Derek asked, his eyes probing. Just edits, she lied, sipping to hide her nerves. He kissed her forehead, but it felt like a brand. At her publishing office downtown, Emily locked her door and plugged in the USB. Password protected. Of course. She tried his birthday, their wedding date. Nothing. Frustration clawed at her. But she emailed the photos to Sarah with a note. Found this in his office. Help. Sarah called minutes later, her voice tense. Horizon's linked to a guy named Richard Glover. Con artist, did time for fraud. I'm digging, but you need to watch your back. Emily nodded, though Sarah couldn't see. Glover. It fit. But the USB nagged at her. What was Derek hiding that needed a lock, even from his partner? She left work early, claiming a headache, and drove to a coffee shop to think. Her phone buzzed again. No number, just, you were warned. She scanned the room, half expecting eyes on her, but saw only strangers. Fear tightened her throat, but Grand's voice cut through. Guts him. She couldn't go home yet. Not to him. She called Sarah, whispering, I need a favor. Can you trace a number? Sarah hesitated. That's dicey, but I'll try. Send it. Emily forwarded the texts, her fingers unsteady. As she hung up, a man at the counter glanced her way. Too long, too sharp. She grabbed her bag and left, the USB heavy in her pocket. Derek was closing in, and someone else was watching. But she wasn't running. Not yet. Outside, Chicago's wind whipped her hair, cold as truth. Tuesday was coming, and with it, Derek's plan. The USB might be her only weapon, but it was useless locked. She needed help, and fast. As she walked, her phone vibrated once more. She didn't look. She knew it was another threat. Instead, she clutched the drive, her fear hardening into something new, defiance. Derek thought she was a pawn. He was wrong. Emily's breath fogged in the cold Chicago night as she crouched behind a dumpster, the warehouse looming like a beast across the lot. Her phone screen glowed faintly. Glover meets him tonight. 11 p.m. Be careful. Sarah's contact, a hacker friend, had traced Derek's recent calls to this industrial scar on the city's edge. The USB from his office, still locked, weighed heavy in her pocket. 4 days until Tuesday, Derek's deadline. Whatever he and Richard Glover were planning, she'd find answers here. Or lose everything. She'd spent the day unraveling threads. Sarah's digging confirmed Glover's past. A con man who'd swindled widows out of homes before vanishing into parole. His name on Derek's email screamed danger, but the threatening texts, stop digging, cut deeper. Someone knew her moves. At work, Emily had cracked the USB's password, her grandmother's name, a cruel irony Derek must have chosen. It held one file, a grainy video, too dark to make out, and a note. Phase 2. Clear her out. Her skin crawled. Was she her? Now, at 10:45 p.m., the warehouse lot was a maze of rusted crates and flickering lamps. Emily tugged her scarf tighter, Grand's voice steadying her. Guts. Always guts. But doubt not. She trusted Derek, his laugh, his touch, blinding herself to his secrets. Their first date flashed back, him quoting her favorite novel, his eyes warm. Had it all been a lie? The ache in her chest warred with her resolve. No time for tears. Not now. A black SUV rolled up, headlights slicing the dark. Emily ducked lower, her boots scraping gravel. Derek stepped out, his coat flapping, and another man, Glover, she guessed, followed. They vanished inside the warehouse. She crept closer, heart pounding, and slipped through a side door left ajar. The air stank of oil and metal. Voices echoed from a corner office, and she hid behind a stack of crates, her phone set to record. Tuesday's locked, Derek said, his voice clipped. She's clueless. Signs the power of attorney. We sell the house. Split the $500,000. Glover's laugh was gravelly. You're good, Smith. Better than me at her age. But after? A pause. Derek's tone turned ice cold. No loose ends. She won't be a problem. Emily's blood froze. Her house, her life, pawns in their game. Her finger trembled on the phone, capturing every word. A crate shifted behind her. She spun, stifling a gasp as a rat skittered past. But footsteps followed, heavy, deliberate. Not Derek or Glover. Someone else was here. Her pulse roared as she pressed against the crate, the USB digging into her hip. A flashlight beam swept the warehouse, grazing her sleeve. Who's there? A gruff voice barked. A guard, maybe hired muscle. She bolted, ducking behind a forklift, her scarf catching on a bolt. It tore free, and she cursed silently. She couldn't leave a trace. The voices in the office stopped. Check it, Glover snapped. Emily's chest tightened. She crawled toward the door, gravel biting her palms as the guard's boots crunched closer. Her phone vibrated. Another text, unknown number. Run. Now. Her mind screamed, "Who are you?" But she obeyed, slipping outside just as the guard's beam hit the spot she'd left. She sprinted to her car, parked a block away, and dove inside, locking the doors. Her scarf was gone. Would they find it? She drove, hands shaking, until she reached a gas station lot. The recording was safe, 2 minutes of damning truth. She sent it to Sarah with a note, "Derek and Glover. They're planning worse than theft." Her phone lit up. "Got it. Meet me tomorrow. Stay somewhere else tonight." Emily nodded to herself. Home wasn't safe. Not with Derek sleeping beside her, his mask thinner every day. At a cheap motel, Emily replayed the video from the USB. The dark shapes resolved into figures. Derek and a woman, not her, in a heated talk. The audio was garbled, but one phrase cut through, same playbook. "Trust, then take." Her stomach lurched. Another victim? The woman's face was blurred, but a bracelet glinted, a cross pendant, like one Emily had seen in Derek's drawer. Who was she? And why was Derek hiding her? Sarah called at midnight. That recording's gold, but it's not enough for cops. Glover's slippery. Cops need hard proof he's active." Emily gripped the phone. "What about the USB? There's a woman." Sarah paused. "Send it. I'll get my guy to clean the audio." "But those texts. My contact says they're from a burner. Someone's close." Emily's eyes darted to the motel window. A car idled across the lot. Lights off. Was it them? She hung up, her mind racing. The guard, the texts, the woman. Pieces of a puzzle she couldn't solve alone. Grand's house wasn't just money to Derek. It was a stepping stone to something bigger. The USB's note, Phase 2, hinted at a network, not just 2 men. Her fear flared, but so did her anger. Derek thought he'd played her perfectly, banking on her love. He didn't know she'd learned from Gran. Trust could break you, but truth could save you. Emily checked the motel lock, the recording still on her phone. She'd dodged the guard, but her scarf worried her. If Derek found it, he'd know she was closing in. And those texts, were they a warning or a trap? She opened the latest. He's not alone. Her breath hitched. Glover was bad enough. But who else was with Derek? She clutched the USB, its secrets her only edge. Tomorrow, she'd meet Sarah and plan her next move. But as the car outside peeled away, one truth sank in. Time was running out. Emily's hands gripped the steering wheel, Chicago's skyline blurring as she drove toward Sarah's apartment. The warehouse recording burned in her phone. Derek's voice, cold and final. She won't be a problem. 3 days until Tuesday, when he'd trick her into signing away her grandmother's house. The USB's video haunted her too. A woman, a cross pendant, and Derek's words, same playbook. Whoever she was, Emily wasn't her, not yet. But fear clawed at her. Could she outsmart him? Sarah's call that morning had been urgent. My hacker cleaned the USB audio. It's bad. Meet me at noon, and bring everything." Emily had barely slept in the motel, jumping at every noise, expecting Derek or the mysterious texter. He's not alone. To find her. Her scarf, lost at the warehouse, gnawed at her. If Derek found it, her game was up. She'd texted him a lie, staying at Sarah's to finish a manuscript. He'd replied, "Miss you, babe," with a heart emoji that felt like a taunt. At Sarah's, the air was thick with coffee and worry. "Listen," Sarah said, sliding a laptop across the table. The USB video played, now clearer. Derek stood in a dim room, the woman's voice trembling. "You promised we'd split it." He laughed. "You trusted me, Lisa. That was your mistake." The video cut off, but Sarah's hacker had pulled a file from the drive, a death certificate. Lisa Monroe, 32, ruled a suicide last year. Emily's stomach dropped. The cross pendant, she'd seen it in Derek's drawer. "He did this before," Emily whispered, her voice cracking. Sarah nodded. "Lisa owned a condo. Sold right after she died. Guess who brokered it?" Emily's eyes burned. Horizon Solution. Derek wasn't just a thief. He was a predator, and she was next. Her mind flashed to their wedding, his vows soft and sure. Had he planned this even then? A tear fell, and she wiped it away, angry at her weakness. Gran's voice cut through. "Guts him," but Guts felt far away. Sarah pushed a card toward her. "Ellen Green, lawyer. She handles fraud cases. She'll meet us tomorrow, but you need more than recordings, hard proof, like those emails." Emily clutched the warehouse photos, her lifeline. I'll get into his office again, she said, though her voice shook. Sarah grabbed her hand. He's dangerous. If he suspects, he already does. Emily cut in. Her phone buzzed. Derek. Home tonight? Need to talk. Her pulse spiked. He knew something? She drove back, the house on Lake Michigan glowing like a trap. Derek's car was in the drive. She tucked the USB into her bra, the only place he wouldn't check, and forced a smile. Inside, he sat at the dining table, a bottle of wine open. Surprise, he said, his grin too wide. Thought we'd have a night in. Her skin crawled, but she played along, kissing his cheek. Missed this, she lied, her eyes scanning for clues. His coat hung by the door, no scarf. Maybe she was safe. Dinner was a chess game. Derek poured wine, his gaze heavy. Big week coming, he said. Got papers for you to sign. House stuff. Makes taxes easier. Her heart thudded. The power of attorney. She twirled her glass, faking a laugh. Can I read them first? I'm no finance whiz. His jaw tightened, just for a second. Course, babe. It's simple. She nodded, but his stare pinned her, searching for cracks. The wine tasted bitter, her nerves screaming. She excused herself to the bathroom, splashing water on her face. Her reflection looked hollow, like Lisa's must-have. Had Lisa sat at this table, charmed and blind, until it was too late? Emily's resolve wavered. She wanted to run, to scream, but Grant's house anchored her. She'd fight, even if it broke her. Back at the table, Derek slid a folder across. Why not look now? He said, voice smooth as poison. Her fingers brushed the papers, her mind racing. If she refused, he'd know. If she stalled, he'd push. Tomorrow, she said, smiling. Better light, clearer head. He leaned closer, his breath warm. You trust me, right? Her throat closed, but she nodded, hating herself. His phone rang, saving her. He stepped outside, and she lunged for his coat, fishing out his office key. Her hand shook as she pocketed it, but a glint under the table caught her eye, her scarf neatly folded. He knew. She froze, footsteps nearing. Derek walked in, his eyes flicking to the scarf. Found that in my car, he said, casual but sharp. Yours, right? Her mind blanked, then rallied. Oh, thank God. Thought I'd lost it. She grabbed it, laughing too loud, and he watched unblinking. Clumsy, he said, almost a whisper. The air choked her. She mumbled about a headache and fled upstairs, locking the bedroom door. Her phone buzzed. Unknown. He's moving faster. Get out. She texted Sarah. Found the key. Office tonight. Sarah replied. Wait for Ellen. Too risky. But waiting wasn't an option. At 3 a.m., with Derek's snores echoing, Emily crept to his office. The key turned, her flashlight sweeping the desk. She found a new folder. Bank transfers, $500,000, dated Wednesday. And a photo. Her, sleeping, taken weeks ago. Her blood ran cold. He was watching her, planning her end. A noise, glass breaking downstairs. Derek's voice cursed. She shoved the folder back, grabbed the photo, and ran to the bedroom, diving under the covers. Footsteps climbed the stairs. The door rattled. She'd forgotten to unlock it. Ing. Derek called, soft but edged. Her heart stopped. She fumbled with the lock, opening it as he pushed. Heard something, he said, scanning her. You okay? She nodded, clutching the photo under the blanket. He lingered, then left. She didn't sleep. The photo proved it. Derek wasn't just after the house. He wanted her gone, like Lisa. Tomorrow, she'd meet Ellen, hand over everything. But as dawn broke, her phone lit up. You can't hide. She stared at the words, her defiance cracking. Derek was steps ahead, and someone else was closing in. She needed a miracle to make it to Tuesday. Emily's heart pounded as she stepped into the notary's office, the Chicago skyline gray through the window. Tomorrow was Tuesday, Derek's deadline for her to sign the power of attorney, handing him Grant's house and her life. Her phone held the warehouse recording, the USB's video, and the photo of her sleeping, proof of his betrayal. Ellen Green, the lawyer Sarah had found, waited with a plan, stalled Derek, let the police move in. But as Emily sat across from him, his smile sharp as a blade, she felt the walls closing. You look nervous, babe, Derek said, sliding papers toward her. His voice was honey, but his eyes hunted for weakness. The notary, a wiry man with a cheap suit, shuffled documents, oblivious or bought. Emily clutched her bag, the USB inside, and forced a laugh. Big decisions, you know. She glanced at Ellen, posing as her friend at the table. who nodded slightly. Outside, Detective Lopez and his team were ready, if Emily could keep Derek talking. She flipped through the papers, her hands steady despite her racing pulse. "What's this clause?" she asked, pointing randomly. Derek's jaw twitched. "Just legal stuff, Em. Secures the house for us." Us. The word stung, conjuring their first kiss by Lake Michigan, his promises. Had any of it been real? She pushed the memory down, Gran's voice anchoring her. "Guts, Em." She'd lost her scarf, nearly been caught, but she was here fighting. The notary coughed. "Need a signature, Ms. Clark." Derek leaned closer, his breath warm. "You trust me, right?" Her skin crawled, Lisa's death certificate flashing in her mind. Another woman who trusted him. Emily smiled, her voice soft. "Always." But her eyes flicked to Ellen, who texted Lopez onto the table. Derek's hand grazed hers, and she flinched, his gaze narrowing. "Something wrong?" he asked, too calm. Her phone buzzed. "Sarah, cops are outside." "Hold on." Emily's throat tightened. She needed seconds, but Derek was unraveling her. He said, voice low, "Don't make this hard. Sign, and we're golden." His tone carried a threat, like the photo he'd taken of her sleeping. She saw Lisa's cross pendant in her mind, a warning of her fate. "I want a lawyer to check it," she said, stalling. His smile vanished. "You don't trust me," he hissed, loud enough for the notary to glance up. "Ellen stood. She's entitled to review, Mr. Smith." Derek's eyes darted between them, his mask slipping. "Who the hell are you?" he snapped. Emily's heart stopped. He was cornered, dangerous. Before he could move, the door burst open. "Police! Hands up!" Lopez shouted, officers flooding in. Derek lunged for the papers, but Emily yanked them back, her fear gone. "It's over," she said, voice steady. His glare burned, promising revenge, as cuffs clicked on his wrists. Weeks later, Emily stood in a courtroom, her hands clammy. Derek sat at the defense table, his suit crisp, his face a mask of charm. The trial had gutted her. Every email, recording, and photo laid bare. She testified about the warehouse, the USB, Lisa's death. The jury listened, but Derek's lawyer spun lies, painting her as paranoid. Her chest ached, reliving his vows, her blindness. Gran's house was safe, but her heart wasn't. Ellen called her to the stand again. "Miss Clark, why fight?" Emily swallowed, Gran's face clear in her mind. "This house was my grandmother's dream. She taught me to stand up, no matter the cost. Derek stole my trust, but not my strength." Her voice broke, and Sarah, in the gallery, wiped tears. Derek stared, unblinking, his whisper from the warehouse echoing. "No loose ends." She met his gaze, unbroken. Then a twist. Ellen called a surprise witness. Lisa Monroe. Gasps filled the room. Not dead. Hidden, silenced by fear after Derek framed her ruin. Her cross pendant gleamed as she spoke, voice steady. "He took my home, my life. I ran, but Emily gave me courage." The jury shifted, Derek's charm crumbling. Lisa's words sealed it, his playbook exposed. Emily's eyes stung, not with pain, but pride. She wasn't alone. The verdict came fast, guilty. Derek got 12 years, fraud, conspiracy, attempted murder. He turned, mouthing, "You'll pay," but Emily felt only pity. He'd lost, undone by her defiance. Outside, Sarah hugged her, and Ellen nodded, proud. "You did it, kid," Sarah said. Emily smiled, fragile but real. The house was hers, but more. She was hers again. Months later, Emily walked Michigan Avenue, the wind sharp and free. She'd sold a house, too heavy with ghosts, and started a small press, books by women who'd fought and won. Her first title, Gran's Guts. She'd tossed her wedding ring into the lake, a quiet goodbye to Derek's shadow. Her phone buzzed. Sarah, checking in. No more threats, no shadows. Just her moving forward. At a cafe, Emily opened her laptop, a new manuscript waiting. She typed, the words flowing. She thought love was her cage, but truth was her key. The lake sparkled outside, endless and calm. Derek was gone, Lisa was healing, and Emily was whole. Gran would have grinned, proud. For the first time in years, Emily felt light, her story hers to write.